Hello. Welcome to Talkin Comic-Con. I'm Kevin Feige. I've got the same kind of build. I think I'm all right. Was that a bit mean? Was that mean?
We're working on that build. That's all I can say. Aaron and I are working on your build.
What? For me or for Kevin?
Did you do the bok choy challenge?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No,
yes,
because
we're in the pre-show. We're trying to get our guest on for today.
Yes. So no, I've been a little bit tied up. I've got my hand free, but look at this. Look, hang on. No, if you squeeze it, pus comes out. Look.
Oh, God. Stop that. Please.
Okay, maybe not.
I do not do well with anything like that at all. Just no. You're just going to do that all show, aren't you?
I could do. Possibly. I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Brutal.
I know. Yes, we're trying our best to get ourselves sorted out with our guest. Hopefully, we'll get Keithan on very shortly indeed. But we've got ourselves a fair few people joining us on the chat room. Our one or two regular faces, but over the last couple of weeks, we've been having some fresh faces. It's been good. So we've got ourselves Andrew English watching from London. Michael P. Good morning from snowy Colorado Springs. Andrew English being icy cold all week, but warming up over the weekend. Not here in Yorkshire, it's not. It's bloody cold. We've got ourselves Leanne D. Good morning, everyone. How was your birthday? How did you celebrate last week? Let us know. Dan Berry, Black Comic Day, and Long Beach Comic Expo with the Dwayne McDuffie Award for Diversity in Comics on the same day. I know. Supercat Chick, hello there. How are you? Karen Session, good afternoon. Yes, welcome along. It's coming up to the top of the hour, so we'll drop in very shortly indeed. Aaron Neighbors is joining us. Hola from San Diego. Hello there, sir. We may be calling on you if we can't get Keithan involved, because we would like someone to talk about Black Comic Day, and we know that you are a huge supporter of it. So keep your eyes on your inbox. You never know. We may just have to drop you a line. Because we are having some technical issues, as always, because it's YouTube and it's Google and it's pish and bibble. That basically means that we're kind of struggling at the moment, but we're getting there. Let me just see if I've got everything turned down there. Okay. Right. Welcome along to Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. I have a cup of tea, which I now can't pick up. Hopefully you got your beverage to hand, and I hope you're up for a bit of a chat about all things Comic-Con related, San Diego Comic-Con and con culture, and also just comics and pop culture. Anything you want to dive in on the Q&A, anything that you want to talk about, do let us know. Anything you've spotted in pop culture this week, do let us know. I think the reason why I'm wearing the hat of honor is obviously the first 10 years of Marvel Studios photo that was posted. Yes, I was one of those that jumped on straight away and turned around and went, where was Clark Gregg? Where was all the TV people? What the hell's going on? At the end of the day, it's a celebration of the first 10 years of Marvel Studios, which is a totally different company to Marvel Television. And the reason why Clark Gregg wasn't there was at the same time as that photo was being taken, he was in New York at Comic-Con pimping Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So yeah, there was all of that. Great photo if you get the chance to have a look at it online. So no, it's very much a case of Marvel knowing how to continue the story and continue its marketing, because like Andrew English is saying, he can't wait for Tuesday and Black Panther. We are going to get on and talk about that in a bit, because I know that Alyssa wants to talk about first night showings and previews and all of that, which leads me on to introducing my partner in crime. Hello, Alyssa. How are you?
I am well. It's been an interesting week. I had a bit of an emotional roller coaster there with Elon Musk, I have to say I am a total fangirl, and he would get me into Hall H. Him and Buzz Aldrin, if they were to do a panel, I would be totally there. It's like I would camp out for days. I mean, the press conference he did, and Falcon Heavy with Starman,
right. I didn't see the press conference. I didn't see the press conference. I like watching the press conferences for Elon Musk in much the same way as I like watching car crashes, because he has no way of communicating with an audience. It's like watching a child being born. It's brilliant.
No, he's a geek's geek. He's Rob Selkowicz said, sometimes I'm too geeky for the geeks, and this is Elon. It's just like, but when you get him in this zone of just talking technical and stuff, and this thing comes out of him, and he's just like, he even said it in the press conference, he was tripping balls, and it was just, I mean, he's so geeky, it's so real. It's just, I totally fangirl. I would be totally speechless. I never get fangirly about people, but Elon, I'd just be right there.
Well, it looks like a number of our viewers watched it as well. Karen Session watched the launch at work. Andrew English saw it at home on a 40-inch television via Google Chrome. There you go. There's your geeky for you. Super Cat Chick, I'd be definitely down for that panel as well. Leanne D, daughter is going into aerospace engineering. Get in.
Yeah.
That's exactly the kind of inspiration that you want these people to have and to
absolutely. And the thing that got me is that a lot of people were like, oh, it's a waste of, why did he do this rocket launch just to promote his Tesla car and all of this crap? And it's like, no, guys, do you not understand what a test launch is? NASA, stuffy old NASA, would have put concrete bricks in there. How brilliant was it to put a car in there? I mean,
to be honest, I have no problem with putting the car up there. I mean, I thought it was a little bit ostentatious with the whole David Bowie bit, and I thought, fine. I was okay with it. I still think it's the guy that beat him up at school. Used to bully him, used to stick him in a locker. I think that's the guy that's in the suit. I think he has arranged it that he's just, you're not going to see that guy ever again. It's
that sounds good. It totally sounds good. But I thought it was brilliant. I absolutely am just thrilled that science and rocket technology took it to that whole nother level of inspiring people to get out in real space. I mean, I love the science fiction, but wow, we could go to Mars. We could really go to Mars. That would be really, really cool. So,
well, I mean, I kind of got on my high horse the other day because purely because I'm stunned that we're not there already. I just keep getting reminded, and I remind myself that at the end of the day, I was born in 1972. Okay, that was the last time we set foot on the moon. It's not that bloody far away. What the hell? So it just baffles me that we've never been back. It just confuses the hell out of me. So there we go. We've got that.
But I like big rockets anyway. So
okay.
Don't go there. Don't.
Hashtag there. Not a euphemism.
Don't do it. Yes, the X stagehand did come through, and yes, I know that what's going to happen. And I get to actually welcome Keithan. Did I pronounce your name right?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can.
We can see you and hear you.
Quite an ordeal.
Listen,
how's it going, guys?
If everyone wants, I might just actually take a screen cap at one point of our behind-the-scenes chat, where basically it's all three of us swearing at YouTube. and Google just going, you own this stuff. You are all the same company. Can't you make it work, for God's sake? But welcome along. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. You were kind of introduced to us by Aaron Neighbours, a good friend of the show, and it's a pleasure to have you on because it's such an exciting. It's not only an exciting time for comics and diversity in comics. There's those two words, but also a contentious time because of certain elements online. And it's great to celebrate events like yours.
Only if you let it be. A lot of that stuff is just noise. You can choose to be affected by it or just keep your day going. You know, they're going to go watch the movie. Like, take the Black Panther, for instance. They're going to watch it anyway. It's just like the Star Wars fans. You know, no matter, you know, they're losing their minds over Han Solo and, you know, crapping on that, but they'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right, and it is just noise into the void for a number of these. Yeah. But it's the reason why we wanted to have you on is because we all agree that it's absolutely essential to celebrate diverse voices in comics. First things first, I suppose, better introduce yourself. Keithan, who are you, and what's your history in comics and in creativity?
The origin story.
Where do we start?
Where do we start? Well, okay. Well, my name is Keithan Jones. I was born in Memphis, Tennessee, but I left there when I was 5 because my father was in the Navy. So that's how we ended up in San Diego. And so coming out here, I was a fish out of water, you know, Southern kid. Out in the city and with the funny accent and all that stuff. So we hopped around a lot. So I didn't have an opportunity to have any long-term friendships. So I just kind of always had comics there for me, you know, which I was exposed to through my dad being in the Navy. He would go on these long trips overseas on duty, and he would bring all these comics home that he read and just basically give them to me. And that's how I got exposed to comic books. And I think the first comic I ever had or remember having was a Marvel team-up book with Spider-Man and Paladin. And that kind of set me on my way. But I didn't, that was just the collector side of me. I didn't really get into the art form of actually making comics and drawing and all that stuff until I saw Star Wars. So like a lot of people who were first exposed to Star Wars back then, that really got me into the art of science fiction and comics and everything else. So
I'm guessing you bought the Marvel Comics adaptation as well.
Marvel, yeah, I think it was oversized, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it was like an oversized comic at the time. Yeah, all of that stuff was just like this dynamic synergy I had with looking at those images and reading the words that just kind of captured me and still with me to this day. But moving fast forward, getting into actually creating my own characters and starting my own book, that was when I came across the Teen Titans by Marv Wolfman and George Perez. When I came across that series, that really got me into like thinking about story structure, character development, and things of that nature. And that spawned me into creating my book, which I'm currently working on, called The Power Knights. So, and Teen Titans were teenagers, and I was just about to become a teenager at that time. So I could really relate to the storyline of that book. So I basically grafted that structure and put it into The Power Knights. And that's where I am with it.
How long have you been running that book?
Well,
because you got your own little, you've got your own imprint for it, haven't you? It's KID Comics.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I created the comic when I was 11. So back then it was just something fun to do. You know, in my mind, I'm imagining myself as a real publisher. You know, I just basically mimicked everything I saw Marvel and DC doing. Oh, they put the little logo up in the corner, and they have the little box with the character, and I even put fake barcodes on my book. The whole nine. I just tried to duplicate a real comic as best I could at that time, with my crayons and my, you know, my limited drawing skills at the time. But it wasn't. I didn't get into. Well, I basically became a graphic designer as I got older. Like in my professional life, I became a graphic designer, and I did that for the last 20 years, doing like newspaper ads, billboards, you name it, everything, storyboarding. Dabbled in video games for a while, just running the gamut. But I always found myself doodling the Power Knights in the corner. Like when the bosses weren't looking or when I was bored, I would do that. So maybe 4 years ago, I was like, okay, time to get serious. Let me go ahead and do this before I get too old. Meaning I wanted to make the Power Knights a real thing. And I felt like I owed my younger self that opportunity. So I went about the business of creating the publishing brand KID so I can greenlight it myself and publish it myself and not have to worry, you know, versus going the path of like, hey, can you look at my comic? What do you think? Can you publish, you know, can I get a publishing deal and all that other stuff? I was like, forget all that. I can do this. There's nothing stopping me from doing it myself. So that's how that all came about. But all of the from the name of the company KID to the title of the book, all of that stuff came from my 11-year-old self. Now, as a grown man and as a professional artist, I can add the professionalism to it. You see, and that's how all of that came about. The only thing that emerged over the years as I grew, and this goes back to what you were saying. I noticed that, man, I'm not seeing any Black characters that are in leading roles. I mean, all the way up to 2018, it's still like a novelty. It's still like, wow, there's a Black cast of characters. You know, people are still impressed by that. And it's like, that's great and all, but it's kind of not cool. It's kind of like we should be past this by now.
Yeah,
and we're not. We're still breaking grounds in that respect.
It says a lot that there's a tweet that's doing the rounds today, which is I think someone basically started the tweet kind of facetiously about name a Black character or Black comic book character without the word Black in its name.
Right.
Okay, that's quite a facetious tweet, but at least someone then kind of ran with it by actually doing a full list of characters. But then you realize that's a tweet's worth.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's kind of like the double-edged sword on that one. Yeah, I kind of got freaked out by that. So yeah, I totally understand the need for
even the fact that most of the known Black characters out there have the word Black in front of them. Like, yeah, I know, I can see he's Black. I don't think I need that disclaimer there. I can see it. But
so when it comes to KID Comics, then, so it's obviously to create and to release your own book. Have you attracted other creators as well, or is it just
I started out. The long-term plan is to be like a Marvel or DC, where I can actually hire talent, because I don't envision myself bent over the drawing table that much longer. That's a lot of work. I'd rather, if I had the means, I'd rather hire someone to draw and color and take some of my concepts and run with it. But I also always come across other creators who I think have great ideas. They only need some type of backing or venue to present it. And I want to be that guy, particularly for creators of color who don't necessarily have the platform to be on the A list here. You know what I mean? Like to have that full backing with the big budget and all of that stuff. So I want to be the guy or the company that can offer that to them. And that's not to exclude any other race. It's just I want I just want to be encompassing of creators of colors.
Cool.
Foremost.
So I mean, we were talking at the very beginning there about the current landscape for comics. Where do you see it at the moment in terms? I mean, do you see a progression? Do you see some positive? Work happening, not only Because I mean, obviously the noises. I'm going to call them the noises. I'm either going to call them the noises or the demons. It's one of the two. They do kind of criticize rather predominantly the Marvel brand, but also DC as well. Do you see those two big brands and the industry itself making strides?
Yeah, of course. For the last, last 5 years, it's been this diversity movement, and I commend them for it. The only problem, if you want to call it a problem, I have with it is it's not a clean slate. It's taking established characters like a Thor or Spider-Man or
Green
Lantern, and basically giving them a new paint job. You know, and it's a safe bet because, and I understand they have shareholders that they're responsible for, so they want to basically piggyback off of what they've already established, you know, and then you know, try some things with the imagery, but basically it's the same character. The only problem is, I think comic book collectors, especially legacy collectors, they know in the back of their mind it's not going to stick. It's going to go back to the original incarnation at some point after the buzz is over. And I think that happens because me personally, I don't have a problem with Peter Parker being Spider-Man. I don't have a problem with Tony Stark being Iron Man. Like, I never said I had a problem with those characters. I just want to see some characters of color that are original. To add to them.
If I could interrupt, it seems as though that there's not a lot of the creators, diversity in creators, so they can't speak from an authentic voice. Just like with women, there's not a lot of female creators, so that you can't really speak with an authentic voice.
Yes,
and you know, so I think that has a lot to do with it. So, you know, to have you guys come along and KID Comics come along and actually speak to something that you know versus Marvel, who, if you look at them, they're
based on stereotypes.
Yeah, you know, they don't know any. You know, they just fall into the stereotypes of what they've learned. I mean, I was reading one of your imprints, Vegas Baby, and this morning, because, you know, trying to catch up on some of the stuff you did, and that's definitely an adult book. and that was, you know, and it was refreshing, you know. It was really refreshing. And the other thing I noticed is that you do everything.
Personally?
Yeah. You're drawing, you're inking, do you letter too? I mean, what haven't you done in any of these books?
Well, when it comes to the Power Nights, yes, I do everything I can, basically for financial reasons. And thank God
I was waiting for you to turn around and say, because I have an ownership for this and it's mine. Is it? No, I can't afford to pay anyone. It's
Yeah, I'm not hiding that. I'm not hiding that. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not right now. Even though I have people knocking at the door all the time about being a part of KID, I'm like, hey, I'm not ready to expand. I don't want to lead you on thinking that this is a job opportunity. Because for us, we're doing it out of the love of the craft and building up to the moment where we can offer people paying jobs. But right now we're not in that position.
Well, who are the creators that inspire you when it comes to the love of the craft? Well, who are the ones that kind of jumped out or still jump out?
Well, being an '80s kid, I was heavily into Frank Frazetta, George Perez, Frank Miller, and then you mix in anime.
Oh wow!
So it's a combination of that. That's that type of soup there, like American artists and Japanese artists. You get me. It's Star Wars. But outside of, I would say the unique twist with me would be hip hop, the culture of hip hop. You mix that was a big influence on me as far as my viewpoint of life in the world and how I relate to it and how I fit into it. That music really spoke to me and spoke for me. If that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
So,
it does.
yeah, so there's always that element in my work as well.
Because I mean, I certainly think of when I've looked through the work from KID Comics, I think of Daniel's work as well from Run DMC, with his self-published work, or it's his work that he did. Was it self-published? No, he wrote it, and I think it was done with Marvel.
Yeah. Did you ever meet him?
I did. I met him when he came over to the UK for Thought Bubble last year, 2 years ago, and basically I somehow got into a conversation with him behind his table. And he just was told me he's one of those guys who just like and he's off, and he just doesn't stop. Brilliant, so much energy, and really kind of.
You know what I like about him? He actually really is a comic book collector. Like, he really knew his stuff. He wasn't just jumping.
Because I mean, there was a couple of people. I think that there was 1 or 2 of them that were actually trying to test him on the other side of the table, and they're just sort of like kind of throwing 1 or 2 things out there, and he was just going, okay, and return serve, and just knock them out of the park. It was brilliant to watch. No,
that helps because
that passion is just
that helps because, and I don't want to speak ill of anyone, but because I don't know him personally, but Tyrese jumped in some years ago when people were just getting into comics to basically flip their IPs into film options, and he didn't really know anything about comics. But I'll give him credit. He did do the rounds. Like, he went to speak to Jim Lee and Todd McFarlane to get their opinions on what he was doing and if he were doing it correctly. But you could kind of tell he wasn't really in it for the long run, and he's not there now.
It's true.
He got a lot of buzz out of being a celebrity and everything. He just jumped in. People bought the book. And then he was out of there. It's kind of like.
Let me ask you this. You've got 2 other titles. You've got your title, the Power Knights, but you've also got the Purge and Dragonfly. How did you? Those are created by other people. How did you decide? Why did you decide to collaborate? Or
why did I pick those guys?
Yeah,
that's a good question. Really, that's Chris Ward, the creator of Vegas Baby, the one you read. He wanted to really be a part of KID originally. Like, he was the guy that was like, I was like resisting for almost a year, and then but he's so persistent. Okay, Chris, come on in. This is what's going on. This is what's going on.
We know those types. Yep.
Yeah. He's super persistent. He has all these ideas, and he liked the energy I was putting forward, and he liked where I was taking the company, and he just wanted to be a part of that. And we clicked, and he's a great writer, and he helps me. He co-writes for me on the Power Nights, and we bounce ideas off each other. But he knew the other 2 creators that are on the list. Michael William Tanner, who created the Dragonfly, that's his good friend. So he told me about him, and we brought him in, and then finally we brought in Roosevelt Pitt, who created Purge. He's an interesting story because Purge, before, I didn't know him previously, but back in the early 90s when Image was on their big come up, and Milestone remember Milestone from DC Comics? They just hit the scene and all of that. Purge was out there also, and I think he sold over 1 million copies at that time. And he was doing the media rounds, and he was just, he made a name for himself back then. But I think that his original crew and he had a falling out or whatever, and the book went dormant.
Mm.
for a while. So now he wanted to reintroduce it to the modern audience and comic book buying audience. So he liked what I was doing also, and he felt that I would be a good brand to bring it back under.
Mm.
So
do you have any plans on, because I'm not going to be able to find these. I live on the East Coast. I'm not going to be able to find these comics on the East Coast. Do you have any plans to publish them digitally? I know that you've got one as a PDF, but are you thinking about doing the rest of them? So that
let me see here. Peak Game Comics has the PDF versions of our books. Comicology has the digital versions. Like if you want to read it on a reader.
Okay.
Go to Comicology. All 3 Power Night issues are currently available now.
Okay.
Comicology. Who else is it? Dragonfly issue 1 and 2 is on Comicology. I don't think Purge is currently available.
Okay.
I think but it is available in PDF form. Okay. If you want the physical copies, anything you want physically is available through the site KID-Comics.com. We mail that out to you. And what else?
I've got a big move coming up, so I'm trying to divest myself from physical copies.
Are you really?
Yes. Even, I mean, until I get, the big, the Silver Age stuff, Bronze Age, early Bronze Age stuff.
I'm not a digital guy. I tried it. I can't do the digital. Like I have to have it in my hand. And
Same here.
The experience is better for me physically.
Yeah, I mean, I get stuff sent to me by a couple of companies, Dark Horse, Image, whatever, and they send it digitally, and it's fine to kind of like get a sense of the book, but yeah, something physical.
Especially if it's like a double-page spread, for instance. It was designed to be on an actual page, and you're supposed to open it up and be like, and have it jump out at you. It's just can't do that on the pad. Yeah.
I do have a question about next Saturday. Where is, not being familiar with San Diego very much, where is the event happening? I know it's at Martin Luther.
It's at the San Diego Malcolm X Library, and it's on Euclid.
That word sounds familiar.
Are you asking for the address or?
Well, is it about, where is it? Is it up near Balboa Park, or is it in the gas lamp?
It's actually closer to downtown San Diego. So if you take the 94 freeway, you will exit Euclid. And it's only, as soon as you exit Euclid, you make a right, it's 2 blocks south of the exit. So as soon as you get off the freeway, it's a couple of blocks, and it's on your left. It's on the left side, next to these trolley tracks.
Okay.
Well, let's talk about Black Comics Day then. So, I mean, is this the first time that you've been running this event, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So this is debut event. So, how long has it been taking to get this up and running, or is it something that I mean, what's been the run up to this?
Well, I've been working on it since the fall of last year, and it wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't anything I knew I was going to be doing. The library, my mother works on the staff there with this nonprofit organization called Friends of the Malcolm X Library, and they do a lot of fundraising for the community and for the library, and they hold a lot of events there. She calls me up, hey, we don't know anything about comics, but we want to do a comic type of event. Would you be interested? Okay. So I accepted the responsibility, and that was like, gosh, maybe last October or something like that. And
it's actually been organized quite quickly then. So
yeah, that's what I was telling them. I was like, okay, I can do this, but we're gonna have to like get on it like immediately, because you have people coming from across country, and you just can't tell them at the last moment because they have to book flights and hotels and whatever else they need to do to clear their schedule for it. So it was a situation where I was organizing it with them, but also educating them about the comic book industry. Like, they didn't know what the term cosplay meant. So I had to explain cosplay, and a lot of them were older too. So I remember one meeting I had to explain what a hashtag was. And I was, oh my God, this is going to be a challenge. So yeah, it's been quite interesting. But thank God.
So what would you say is the goal for Black Comics Day?
Oh,
is it more of a showcase, or is it something to kickstart further down? What would you say, Sean?
The goal is this. I want to create a venue. San Diego Comic-Con is so big that it basically is now a Hollywood event, right? It's not, you can't really go in there and spend too much time with anyone because there's too many people. They're pushing you along. There's security. So you have to get in these long lines. And basically, by the time you get up there, the only thing you're going to be able to do is shake the person's hand, your favorite writer or artist's hand, get something signed, and you're out of there. When I first went to Comic-Cons, when my dad took me to my first one, you could actually sit there and have a decent conversation with some of these people and possibly get a job out of it, like I did. You know, I got my first gig when I was 16 years old for Apple Comics back in the late 80s.
Nice.
And that's just me going there, showing my work, and you know, basically got hired on the spot. And so it's very hard to do that these days because it's gotten so massive. The San Diego Comic-Con is so massive now. It's just not possible. And it's no fault of their own. Like, I'm not blaming Marvel or DC or anybody like that. It's just, it's not that type of thing anymore. So
the event of mainstream.
Yeah. It's just, it's out of there. But now with our event, I wanted to bring it back to a more intimate type of situation where young artists and creators and people who are into comics can come in there, and it's intimate. You can talk, you can mingle with these folks and be, you know, it's more touchy-feely, I guess. But the Black part of it, it takes place during Black History Month, obviously. So it's really a celebration of Black writers and creators. This is an opportunity for them to have a spotlight without distraction. Like, you want to find all of these creators in one spot, this is your show. You don't have to go to San Diego Comic-Con and do like you know, Where's Waldo? You know, here they all are in one spot. It's easy access. You can buy their books. You can talk to them. You get stuff signed. You can show your work. And it also is a good representation to kids in the community who only know athletes and musicians as far as Black creativity goes. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's always the same thing. It's either rap artists or singers or athletes. It's like, no, man, we have writers out here, we have artists out here, and some of your favorite characters these people worked on, like Spider-Man and Batman and Luke Cage and Black Panther and all this. These are the people who are behind the scenes that you've never heard of or never get to see. Here they are. These are the people that are doing these things, and they've been doing it for years. You just never knew about it. So that's what Black Comics Day is about. It's not for Black people only to come to and enjoy. It's for everyone to get a cultural experience. Come and see the other side of the moon here and see what's going on.
Nice.
You know?
Nice. One thing I want to ask as well. A bit of an echo there. Anyway, based in San Diego, is it more SoCal and local artists, or is it nationwide that you've nationwide? Who have you brought in?
So, for instance, we have David Walker. David Walker currently is working on Marvel on Luke Cage. He worked on DC's Cyborg series. I think Cyborg's first solo book. He's the writer of that. He said Luke Cage. What else? He has, I think his next big thing that's coming out is Planet of the Apes. He's doing a Planet of the Apes type of spin-off story or something.
He'll be doing that with IDW, I suspect. So
yeah. We have you heard of the Lion Forge, that line of books?
Yes.
Okay, we have writers and artists from that, from what is their book?
We had them guys on the Hangout when we had, I think it was Aaron going around it. Was it WonderCon? Alyssa, we had a live report and we spoke to them.
Yeah, they do all the major cons.
Yeah, good guys.
Yeah, those guys will be there. Like Brandon Thomas, he's one of the writers. Ray? Excuse me for having like some of these people I didn't even know before I took it. Some of these people are new to also new to me. Ray Anthony Height, I think his name is. He's one of the artists from Lion Forge. And we also have, now he said he's coming. I'm still waiting for him to like confirm. But twice he told me he's coming. But are you familiar with Larry Houston, the director of the X-Men cartoons from the 90s? He's coming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was a pleasant surprise. He wants to be there. Who else?
How easy and difficult was it to convince people to come to San Diego for this?
That's the cool part about it. Most of these people, I just asked and they were willing to appear. I mean, they liked the idea of what I was doing, and it wasn't very hard at all. Like, other than scheduling conflicts, they were open to, being a part of this. And, I was pleasantly surprised. And that was, that went rather smoothly, getting the roster of artists and writers to appear. My biggest fear at this point right now is the general public showing up. So I'm really been pounding the ground about getting the word out and doing things like what I'm doing now with you guys, and just hoping people really spread the word across San Diego and just get people through the door. Because I really do think it's going to be a fun day and a great experience.
Is it a free event as well?
And it's free. Yeah. It's free. And
that's always a good thing to get people through the door.
The merchandise isn't free. Merchandise isn't free, but you get some free. We have a little gift bag for everyone that shows up. They'll get something out of it that's free.
So this is your first try at producing a comics event show like this. Do you like it? I mean, it's quite different than doing your own comic book line. You know?
I already told my mom I don't think I'm going to do this again.
Okay.
To this extent, because I'm like unless I get some help, like this is kicking my butt.
You wait until the middle of the day when you're absolutely buzzing and you're meeting everyone, and she corners you. That's when you change your mind. You see, mums know this. They're not stupid.
You're right. I'm sure they'll talk me into doing it again. Because I actually, my wife is Japanese, and our daughter goes to a Japanese school on Saturdays, and they hold a Japanese festival every summer. And I was talked into doing caricatures there every year, right? And every year I was like, I tell my wife, I'm not doing it again. I don't have, not that I didn't enjoy it, but it's like I don't have, I'm always feeling like I'm in a situation where I don't have time to do it. And the lady there that runs the place is like, as soon as she talks to me, it's like, okay. Because women, women
you bounce peer pressure really well, sir.
Yeah.
For me, it would be if the 11-year-old kid, the 11-year-old you, came up to me and said, "Oh, thank you for doing this. This is really, I had a great time." I would just be total mush. So.
Because I'm telling you, and it happens at every Comic-Con I go to. I can't get to the bathroom. You know, it's like, you know, you sit down and it's like a lawnmower, like, the next thing you know, 5 hours have gone by and you're starving to death. You haven't had a chance to get to the bathroom, and you know, I'm trying to like do sketches for folks and sell the book, and it's just it's crazy.
Are you is KID Comics going to have a table up at San Diego Comic Fest?
Yes.
Mike's. Okay. So people can, if they aren't able to get to your show on Saturday, they can certainly see your work up at Comic Fest too. Are you doing any other larger shows in SoCal?
Comic Fest will actually that'll be the first time for me. Also, I've never done Comic Fest, but I've always done San Diego Comic-Con, but that was as an attendee. So for the last 3 years now, I've had an actual table there, along with my friend. Yeah, I share a table with my high school buddy, Bobby Rubio. We both went to Morris High School, and Bobby is now a storyboard artist for Pixar, and he's been doing that for many years. And he and I share a table at Comic-Con now, because even though he works for Pixar, he, you know, that artist in him still needs to express himself individually. He's still turned on by comics just like I am. So that's us doing our high school buddy thing that we've always been doing back in the beginning, just doing our books and hoping people like them.
That's cool.
When it comes to comic book Black Comics Day, what's it actually going to be consisting of? Is it mostly tables, or is there going to be any panels or anything? What's the actual layout of the event?
Yeah, think of your standard Comic-Con as far as the way it looks, with tables. The individual artists have their own tables, and they're decked out the way however they have them decked out. There'll be entertainment happening around the show. We have like a face painter for the kids. She's going to do face painting. We have a martial arts team that's going to do martial arts demonstrations outside. There's going to be a food truck for food. We have one panel scheduled at 2 p.m. and the panel is going to be, the panel guest is David Walker and John Jennings, and hosted by I'm having a brain fart here. Oh my gosh. What's it? Hannibal Taboo. He's the host. And they're going to talk about basically what we're talking about. They're going to talk about the importance of why we're doing what we do. How does that affect the Black community and Black children? Why is it important that there's Black creators in comics? Because some people, like you were talking about the noise, a lot of people dismiss it as oh, this SJW stuff is so, you know, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, you guys sound like supervillains.
Nice. Nice.
I don't, you know,
Spot on.
what's
Absolutely
the negative? I don't get it.
Very cool.
But I mean, we're obviously going to be talking about Black Panther after we showcase the event. And I've been really loving. There's been a couple of social media tweets of the young kids that have been recreating the promo posters of Black Panther, and just having kids seeing his heroes upon screen and recognizing that there's someone that looks like them, and the importance of that. I think that's
a lot of people don't understand the energy behind it. They don't understand why it's such a big deal. And it's like, you have to imagine being a child. We'll talk about America because that's my experience. You have to imagine growing up, watching television, going to the movie, and 95% of the time, every story lead character revolves around a white protagonist. And when you're a child, you're not necessarily upset by it because you don't think like that as a child. You just accept what's in front of you as the norm. But as you grow older, you start understanding that some of your psychology and some of your insecurities were baked in because of that. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's almost like you apply a glass ceiling to yourself because you never see yourself. You know, we'll take, oh, well, I can't be a doctor. I've never seen a black doctor. I can't be a doctor. What is that? That's crazy, you know? Or I can't be the coach of a football team. What do you see any black coaches? You know? And so when these things happen, it's always a big deal because it's not
an aspiration.
Yeah. So seeing a film like Black Panther breaks that stereotype blatantly.
Yeah.
It's unapologetic. It's like, okay, this is not one or two black people. Like, this is a whole cast of black characters, and it's done well, and it's got a nice budget.
Yeah. I think the one thing that Black Panther stands out with as well, because I mean, people always, they talk about that this is not the first superhero or comic book film which has a black lead protagonist. But the other two that I can think of off the top of my head, which would be Blade. And also Spawn. At the end of the day, though, we're talking a black character. Well, certainly with Spawn, that's an adult character, adult creation, and it's basically a black man that is dragged to hell at the end of the day, and disfigured in the process. And with Blade, he's a monster. He's kind of like crossing that line. He's the day walker. Yeah. This with Black Panther, it's out in the sun. It's a proud. Yeah, I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, he's more of like a Superman type, where it's like when I watched the original Richard Donner Superman films back in the day, I left the theater like this.
You and me both, man.
Put your blanket on, you're like, yo, you know, you're inspired to be Superman. You know, can't say about today's Superman, but I can't say the same. You know, don't come at me. I'm just saying. That's not my.
They'd have to go through me first, man.
But you know what I mean? Like, I think when a character like a Superman or a Black Panther is done correctly, you should leave the theater inspired to do good in the world and be the good guy, you know? Yeah, I was always team rebel. I was not, you know, I thought the Empire looked cool and all, but I'm like, hey, man, I'm a rebel, dude. I like, you know, I'm Han Solo, I'm Luke Skywalker. I want to be on that team, you know? So I think heroes should not just be a vehicle, a protagonist in your story, but I also think they should make you feel. You should feel the story. You should feel why this guy is doing what he's doing and be inspired by it. If they're super heroes, you know? Yeah.
I don't even think that's necessarily just a black thing either. I think it's for all kids that they should see heroes that they can. Yeah, that 1978, sorry, coming out of Superman and feeling galvanized. I think we're missing a little bit of that at the moment.
Yeah, and when you're, like I said, when you're a kid, you're not thinking about racism. You're not thinking about black, white, Chinese, whatever. Your mind doesn't work that way when you're a child. You wake up in the morning looking for something fun to do. And something to escape into, whatever influences you the strongest, you just take it in and you run with it, you know. I just think when you get older and you get out in the world, just like me, that's when you start experiencing these real life hangups, and you start like, hey, wait a minute, why am I getting different here? What's going on? You start noticing these things, you know, the stuff you didn't notice when you were a child. You know, it's like, was this always happening? So, you know, you have two reactions. You either get angry and you start rebelling against it, or you start movements to correct it. You see, and I try to be on the side of correcting these problems versus just adding to the fuel of the
noise.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really why I'm really glad to hear that you're getting a number of children-friendly elements to to take part in the day as well.
Oh,
so
yeah. There's a contest element also. I reached out to some of my old schools, and basically it's a contest. All you have to do is draw or create an original superhero costume, and the first prize winner gets $50. And but all the kids' art will be displayed, and yeah, there's that. I just figured that'd be a cool way to have the kids interact with the show, and be a part of it. So we have that going on also.
That sounds good. When are you going to get?
This being the first one, I realized a lot of folks, obviously they don't know who I am. So the challenge of this first show is like, even though people hear about it, they may not necessarily take it seriously, or might dismiss it as just some hole in the wall show. And I understand that. So I have to stay positive and just keep promoting it, and hopefully people will show up. And then the next time we do this, they'll look at it differently, and they'll take it more serious, and they'll understand the importance of it.
I'm just going to point out something to you. You say you're not going to do this again, yet you say the next time I do this.
You noticed that? You noticed that as well?
Oh, totally. Absolutely.
Caught that, huh?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So your mom, she's got an easy. She won't have a problem with getting into this.
You don't have to twist my arm too hard.
No. When are you going to get to see Black Panther? Because your show's on Saturday. Are you going to go to
first night, Friday? Yeah, that's a first nighter.
You're not going to go Thursday night, midnight showing?
Oh, the midnight. You know what? I can't do midnight showings anymore. I used to do it all the time, but now I'm of the age now. I'm like, I'll get to it. it.
I'm seeing it on Tuesday.
Yes, Leonard is being himself.
No spoilers.
Oh no, I'll be doing my usual coming out of the cinema, doing a sort of 20-minute Periscope on Twitter, and no, I make damn sure that myself and the missus, actually, I go with the wife, and she basically gets a sharp stick, and if I get remotely close to spoilers, just nicely in the side of the ribs.
I strategically chose the 17th because it is the day after the film premieres. So I'm hoping that people take whatever energy they get from that film and whatever inspiration they get from that film, they'll take it to the Black Comics Day and come and support these independent artists and even people who actually worked on Black Panther actually, come and meet some of these folks.
Cool. So just a quick reminder then, we're talking next week, February the 17th. What's the times of the event? 11
a.m. to 5 p.m.
Okay. And the best way for people to find out more about it?
If you go to Facebook and punch in Black Comics Day 2018, the event page, it'll pop up. Click on that, and everything you need to know about the show, including the driving directions, the map, and all that good stuff, it's right there.
Excellent stuff. This is where I come up with the link and put it down below and spread the word.
Yeah. And food is there, so people, if they don't have to be worried about going hungry or anything like that. You'll be able to get a snack there. Because
the library itself, I failed to mention this, but the entire month of February is what we're calling the MXL Culture Con.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something going on there already. Like every week there's a different event. Mm-hmm. And every Friday there's movie nights, for instance. They have movie nights there, and they have popcorn and everything. And most of the films that they're showing is based on a historical figure, a Black historical figure. And you can go there, watch the film, and sometimes they have speakers before if the person who actually produced the film, they'll speak before they show the film, and you can have your popcorn and all that good stuff. And we have T-shirts. We have MXL T-shirts. We have Black Comics Day T-shirts and other good stuff there for sale. Because all the money what we're doing ultimately is raising money to fund the library. So that's the overall objective to what we're doing, and to just keep the doors open. And it's a very nice library. It's so cool, man. They have this teen center part where I don't think people realize they actually have 3D printers in there, free to use, and and a bunch of brand new Macs. So you can go in there and get your groove on as far as, you know, if you do that kind of stuff, the tech. So it's a very cool library to visit.
Cool. Well, I mean, we're absolutely jazzed about this. I mean, we're looking forward to seeing certainly what Aaron Nabus is going to be attending. He's going to be, I understand he's going to be interviewing a bunch of people at the event as well, but he's also done a couple of interviews as well for his Hull Hate Show podcast. So a quick shout out for that as well, which you can now find on Spotify, everybody, if you want to go and check that out, because he's Aaron has interviewed Keithan and a few of the other creators who's going to be attending the show.
I have a question for both of you.
Oh, go for it.
What is your perspective on what's going on as far as this Black creative wave in comics? From your perspective, how do you see it?
Personally, I think that I understand a little bit of the criticism that it's very much seeming like the creators and characters have been introduced almost like a company directive instead of like a natural evolution.
Mm-hmm.
But while that is more a kind of kicking down of the door, at least they're now through the door. The characters are through the door. The voices are through the door. So so the method of getting them into the conversation may be a little bit problematic for me. At least they're now part of the conversation. So that's why I have kind of no problem.
We'll take Black Panther. You're going to go see the film. Do you have a problem relating to the character as far as the character's concerns or struggles or whatever?
I can't really speak to that until I've actually seen the film, because I don't know how they're going to keep it close to the books or whatever. In terms of how I related, I related to the character in much the same way that I related it to the character in Civil War, in that he'd lost a parent. Mm-hmm. He had been forced into the heritage that he had been. Admittedly, it was a heritage he was willing and proud to embrace, but the manner in which he was then introduced to that and became the Black Panther, that he lost a parent. That's something that we can all. Well,
that's how you.
That's not how anyone can relate to it, because it's you are having to become your father's son.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So there's that element, but I can imagine there's going to be so much more going to see the film, because there is that sense of. I'm very curious to see how they handle the whole element of Wakanda being very isolationist. Mm-hmm. There is a country that has wanted to be off the grid,
right?
And there is a reason for that. So I want to see how they handle that kind of element to it. But no, as an actual character, that's how I approached it, and that's how I can relate to it as a character. It's in much the same way as Luke Skywalker. People talk about how do you relate to that? It's a kid that grew up on a farm and had his world ripped apart, and he was galvanized to go on this adventure. I can imagine that's how I take Black Panther. Alyssa, I don't know from myself.
Not so much about Black Panther, but going back to your first question was, I personally, I think that the only way to get authentic characters is to speak from personal experience. And you can't be a white person and write an authentic Black character. Just like the problem that I see a lot is you can't be a guy and write a female character and not have them come off as a fluffy pink frou-frou kind of person. As Leonard is going, okay, she's on the she's on the stick.
No. I get that. I mean, I come from it from a slightly different perspective, that, and I feel that a white person can write a black character. I think a good writer can write just like any kind of character, but I think that more diverse voices can also add to the conversation and add to the character.
They push it forward in a way that I don't think a female voice or a black voice, I think, will push the character and limits farther than a white male voice will, to be honest with you.
What was your opinion of the Wonder Woman film? How do you think they handled that?
Of course, I loved Wonder Woman film. I thought, though, that some of the characters were a bit too glossy in the real world, but it was a DC film. And DC films don't have that grittiness that the Marvel films have. So I was able to step away from that objection.
Is there a specific thing you could point out when you say glossy?
It was there wasn't the hardened, you didn't quite get the hardened characters that I think some of the women would have in a Marvel film. That's as close as I can get it. Believe me, I've been trying to figure this one out myself too. But I'm really looking forward to what Black Panther.
It sounded like you wanted more flaws in the character development.
More flaws and real people. I mean,
I think I know it. Yeah, I mean, the two issues I had was the baddie. Comic book movies can't seem to do baddies. I don't know what it is. It's always a glowing thing from the sky, and the final back end, it always seems to work. But the team that was assembled to go and do the mission, it seemed to be a lot of caricatures. So that I felt was, but that was just down to the way the starry was written. It was not necessarily the way the direction of the film. I think that was at script level.
And it's a DC issue. That's the DC problem that I have with the DC movies. That they're not very deep. Their characters aren't, which is. But I'm sure that the Black Panther is going to be a little bit more in depth, and it's going to be a little bit more real than I think the Wonder Woman was. And so that's going forward with it. I have seen some noise criticisms of Black Panther saying that this wasn't so much, people are celebrating this as a black. I'm in the weeds here. Leonard, help me out.
As a black cinema film,
representation of black.
Yeah. And it's not so much it's because it speaks to the Black lives, Black history, a Black where people are coming from, and I have to. That's what their criticism is that this is not, Wakanda isn't really a representation of where they are. But the fact of the matter is that neither is Thor or Asgard or any of the other white movies that are coming along, the Avengers. I mean, come on. So anyway,
I don't think you want to in doing these type of films, I don't think you want to go too heavy-handed with the messaging, because you want to get
then it turns didactic. Then it just turns into just getting hit over the head with it.
Yeah, you want to give people room to interpret things.
That's where I'm going.
However they want to apply it to their life. You know, that's what I like. That's one of my biggest criticisms about, well, take Star Wars, the original series that Lucas worked on versus his prequels, right? My biggest problem with the prequels was him explaining everything. Like, don't tell me about the Force. I don't want to hear about midi-chlorians and stuff like that. Like, I already accept the Force the way it is, and I have my interpretation of it, and that's the magic of it. You understand what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Same with I think that's the magic of that original Star Wars film. Like, you really didn't know anything about Darth Vader. Not even when the movie was over. It's like, I don't know anything about this guy. I understand he's part of the dark side, but that's about it. But man, am I into him? Because I have these theories, you know, and every time they kept taking layers off of these characters, they got more normal and normal and normal. Like the godliness of them just started to fall away, because now, I mean, you keep explaining, I'm going to be cooler than he is.
Yeah. do you know the best example of that, which I always come up with, is Hannibal Lecter. Hannibal Lecter in the first Silence of the Lambs film, he's almost supernatural. He's the absolute boogeyman. And then you have Red Dragon, and then you have all the later films, and Hannibal Rising. Oh, good God, that film. Anyway, yeah, where you kind of like explain why he's a sociopath.
Right.
No, the reason why he was appealing in the film was he is the boogeyman. It's the one that's kind of like the shadow and the bad voices in the back of your head. So yeah, that's the one I always go to. But there we go.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said about not explaining everything. I mean, let the Absolutely. Audience participate. That's the magic of comics, really. People wonder what makes comics different from film, or what's why comic versus watching the film. I'm like, well, really, the magic of comics is what you don't see between the panels, and that's where all this mythology really happens. You know, everyone has in their mind the voice of how these characters sound, how Spider-Man actually got from point A to point B. I mean, you see him firing the web somewhere. You don't know where it lands, but somehow he's getting across New York, and technically that's not even possible, like the way he's doing it, but in your mind it works.
Yeah.
So
excellent. Brilliant stuff. I want to say thank you very much indeed for coming on. We've talked about where people can find out more about the event leading up to it. What about actually on the day? What's the best way? Is it Twitter? Is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Have you got any of these?
I'm going to have it everywhere. I'm going to have it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Cool. Because I know that the hashtag is. I want to make sure I get this right, because you've abbreviated some words.
Hashtag BLK COMIXDAY 2018.
There you
Black
go.
Comics Day 2018.
Cool. Excellent stuff. So brilliant. Thank you very much indeed for coming on the show. We really appreciate you coming on. And like I say, we can't wait for seeing more of the Whole H show coverage as well, because I'm certain that there's going to be lots of video and audio taken of the day. So I'm looking forward to seeing pictures. I'm jazzed for it, and I really hope it goes fantastically for you, sir.
Thank you, man. Oh, and also, you know Mike Towery?
Sorry?
Mike Towery, does that name sound familiar? He's the founder and creator of San Diego Comic-Con.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I
didn't get the context at first. Yes, I'm aware.
I developed a relationship with him in this whole process of putting this show together. So he's on board as far as helping me get the word out, and in turn we're talking about putting a panel together for Comic Fest. So I'll be involved with that also. So,
nice.
So I've actually met a lot of interesting people through this process. So it's been very interesting at many levels for me.
Something tells me you're going to be meeting a whole lot more when this thing grows and grows over the next 20 years that you're doing this, and your mum pins you against the wall.
Wow.
I will be at Comic Fest, so I'll make sure to catch up with you and say hi.
Cool. Oh, one more thing.
Uh-oh.
Are you guys familiar with Platt College here in San Diego?
No.
I'm from the UK, so no.
Platt College, I graduated from there. That's where I got my bachelor's. But it's a graphic design school on El Cajon Boulevard. And they asked me to teach a comic book class there this summer. So,
nice.
Yeah, that's something you might want to, if you know of anyone who's interested in learning the basics of creating comics, I'll be the instructor there. It's not, we haven't confirmed a date just yet, but it's going to be sometime in June. So just
cool.
putting that out in the ether.
Well, I think the best thing to do there is follow you on social media. Where's best place for people to find you?
And that's such a challenge for me. I'm on Twitter at. You have the same problem? Twitter,
yeah, totally.
KID Comics KJ on Twitter. Facebook, I'm either my name, Keithan Jones, or KID Comics Online for Facebook. And then my website, my hub is kid-comics.com. That's where you can buy all of my books and my partners' books. And that's about it. But thankfully, I've gotten to the point now, if you go to Google and punch in my name or the Power Knights, that stuff pops up. Page one.
Excellent stuff.
Awesome.
Keithan, thank you very much indeed for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Good luck next week.
Well, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Excellent stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Right. That's it. Thank you.
Oh.
Take care. So there we go. That was Keithan, and yeah, do follow him along because it sounds like it's going to be an amazing day next week. Do check out the show Black Comics Day 2018, taking place 17th of February in San Diego. Fantastic. Right, we've got 15 minutes to cover everything else. Yay! So
we can do this.
We can do
let
this.
Me go through the. Yeah,
let me go through. You do your bit. You do your bit first. Go on.
Let me do some quick things. Gen Con housing opens up today, I think. So that's a crazy thing. Apparently, this is the really hard thing for Gen Con. They've got a lottery system going for it. A number of people on the forum have talked about every time that CCI emails us to give us information about WonderCon, all of our hearts stop and we're like, oh, housing for San Diego, and it isn't, and it's about WonderCon, and we're all disappointed. So, yeah, we're just kind of getting used to it. Anyway, the one last thing that somebody did say on the forum earlier today was that it seems as though that the early bird inventory for housing at San Diego Comic-Con is starting to get thin. In other words, double beds are starting to sell out. Some hotels are sold out. I wonder if they've put as many rooms up for the early bird this year as they had last year.
I think that might actually also coincide with something else, which I try not to talk about too much on here because at the end of the day, it's a little bit self-serving. But I know that a number of people are starting to get their press releases, press accreditation approved. So there'd be a number of people that was kind of like going, okay, let's just get rooms. We've now got confirmed. We can now start moving forward. So, I mean, I know we've got our good friend Andy Bayback, who's watching. He got approved this week. I'm only guessing with B, they're doing it alphabetically. So they're working their way through. But no, that's one thing that could be part of the whole element. So, yeah, there we go.
Yeah, Leanne says yes. The email about WonderCon almost killed me. You're not the only one.
The thing about that email, and we were talking about this before we came on air. The thing about that email was it was a non-email. It was an email about there's news coming soon. What the hell? Really?
It's just like
really? Okay. Admittedly, I mean, there has been some news that has come out this week, so let's go quickly through that. We posted on an Englishman.San-Diego.com this week about a event that is taking place on the Saturday of San Diego Comic-Con. If you are a fan of 30 Seconds to Mars, they've announced their Monolith tour, and I don't know if it's an incidental thing, but no, the dates are all coinciding that the Monolith tour will be hitting San Diego as of the Saturday of Comic-Con. We are looking at that happening at the Mattress Firm Amphitheater, which is the single lamest named arena I've ever heard in my life. The Mattress Firm Amphitheater. Rock and roll, hardcore. So that's just bizarre. Anyway, that's going to be taking part on these. Let's have a look at this. That's the 21st of July. Tickets go on sale this Thursday. It's at 10 a.m. Pacific. You can get them from livenation.com if you are a 30 Seconds to Mars fan.
Okay, that's what genre of music is that?
Indie rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's Jared Leto's band. So it's guitar indie. Okay. They're a good band. They're pretty solid. Yeah. So yeah, that's something to do on a Saturday night, I suppose, if you are a 30 Seconds to Mars fan. The other bits and pieces, something that we actually haven't been talking about on previous episodes of the show, is actually the wave of special guest announcements coming out of San Diego Comic-Con, which have already been announced. I mean, admittedly, there's a lot of literary guests that have been announced, and very niche people that have been put into there. There have been one or two mainstream names that most people may know. So, for example, Paul Levitz, former DC publisher and also Hall of Fame nominee this year. He got he got announced last week. You've also had, let's have a look as well. I've got them all written down. Jeff McLeod, he's been announced. He was one of the first that. Did I say Jeff? Scott McLeod, sorry. You've also got some people. If you head to an Englishman.San-Diego.com, if you go to the utility belt pages, all the guest lists are actually put in there as reference pages, which you can then bookmark, and at least then you know who's going to be announced. Of course, a fourth wave will be announced tomorrow. So there we go.
Dan Barry says the venue, I assume for the Saturday concert, is not accessible via public transportation.
Where is this place? I've A, never heard of it, and B, all I can imagine is just made out of mattresses, and people can just bounce around. I don't know, just me being silly there. Okay, and I think the only other thing that I wanted to bring up when it comes to con news is something that's been announced. We've talked about this before when it comes to the accessibility of con culture to the wider world, and whether it's a detriment or whether it's something that kind of hinders, because at the end of the day, if you can watch something online, then why go to the actual event itself? As it happens, Long Beach Comic Expo and NerdBot have announced a new partnership which will include live streaming from the NerdBot stage. This is going to be taking part, it's next weekend, Long Beach Comic-Con, so you'll be able to see stuff from that site and from that event, including Joe Keery from Stranger Things, Emma Caulfield from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Twin Peaks stars, and a whole bunch of others. So that is going to be taking part, and you can find out more about the collaboration between Long Beach Comic-Con and NerdBot at longbeachcomicexpo.com. So there
we had, I believe, the I forget her title, but we had one of the people who's was instrumental in Long Beach Comic-Con and New Jersey Comic Expo on. I think Aaron had gotten us an interview with that lady. So this is the so that now they've got the wonderful. Sounds good.
Yeah.
So how about the Olympics?
Who cares? I genuinely don't care. I don't know why. I just don't.
Yeah.
I think I've got too many other things on my plate at the moment. So it's just not. I think it's also the times. I don't know what it's like in the US. I think it's very similar to us here in the UK in that it all happens between 2 and 7 in the morning. I don't get the chance. So no, there we go.
Okay.
Right. I think that's pretty much us then.
Well, I just do want to mention one thing for folks that are watching it. There is a really nice NBC has got a really nice website where you can actually stream things. For example, this morning, we've got a local kid in town. We've got like 2,000 people population town here, and one of the kids is in the Olympics. Sean Doherty is as a biathlon. I remember seeing this kid as he was skate skiing up a mountain about 10 years ago, and he was just, you just knew that this kid was something special. And anyway, you could go on this, the NBC site, you can go in, drill down to an obscure sport like biathlon and actually watch the coverage of it. I was able to do that this morning, which is pretty cool. So you could hopefully next, during the Summer Olympics, we'll be able to actually see some tournaments, some karate tournaments. We'll be able to actually see these things as opposed to just getting two or three people on it. I know you're not interested in this, but just a heads up that a lot of I'm going to do it. Just suck it up, Leonard. We do
what am I not interested in? I'd like to know what I'm not interested in. Go on.
Ice skating.
Oh, okay. No, keep going.
That's all. There's a really neat lady who won long blade speed skating, short track, 500 meter sprint. She's going to be competing for the gold. Just a little powerhouse of a lady, and she's got a picture up with her and Alan Rippon, the gay figure skater, with Adam Rippon up on Instagram, which is just the two of them together. It's just quintessential. I mean, we would not have seen this 20 years ago. You've got an openly gay figure skater and a young Black lady. I mean, she's got to be 18 years old, and it's just gorgeous. So, there's these little stories, and that's why I'm following the Olympics, because sometimes you see these really nice things. And we're going to say goodbye to Star Trek Discovery this week. This week is the last one. I just wanted to do a quick mention of that. Ongoing shows to watch: Black Lightning, Legends of Tomorrow is starting back up, and stars as Counterpoint with it is great too. We're getting a lot of positive feedback from about Counterpoint.
I mean, we've got Andrew English who's turning around saying, "Are we doing a week in TV, or is it dead due to the Olympics?" It doesn't seem to be. There seems to be this kind of reaction where it's like, no, several things can happen at the same time and hold your attention. So no, we can still do all this stuff. So no, yeah. But
a lot of things are being put off. There's not that much in the way of geeky stuff happening. Most of it is ABC, CBS, those types of things. And Netflix really isn't bringing it. They've got a couple of specials that are happening, but nothing really big is happening aside from Discovery wrapping up its season. High hopes for that, and continuing shows not on NBC.
I think there's also the thing as well, is if people or if creators aren't wanting to not to clash with the Olympics. I don't think they also want to clash with Black Panther as well. It is going to be the big story of the week. It is going to be a big thing. So yeah, Dan Berry, several things happening at the same time. Unlike Ant-Man opening in the UK, is what I'll say to you.
Oh, stop it! Stop it!
Bitter. Anyway, right. Listen, the gap.
I know what that means.
The gap between Black Panther coming out in the UK and Black Panther coming out in the States is slightly different to Ant-Man coming out in the US and Ant-Man coming out in the UK. It's like a month. Anyway, moving on. Right. So there we go. Lots of stuff that's been happened, and it's been a great show. Thank you very much indeed for everyone who's watched today. I'm hoping that next week's going to be just as good. We are hoping to have Mr. Dunford joining us from San Diego Comic Fest. I'm hoping that he's going to be able to join us next week, and hopefully he'll also tie in with another conversation that I'm wanting to do. Alyssa doesn't know about this, so this will be interesting. Basically, I had an email this week, which was thrilling, and it really was. It kind of got me galvanized. It was really cool. This is a guy called Graham Peacock, who it says that he represents a very, very small amount of the readership, but his wife is the one that's into the comics, and he just tags along for the ride. And basically, he has been gotten into the genre through Batman and Marvel movies. And he's been to Comic-Con twice now, and he's spent most of his time trying and failing not to embarrass his wife, which I can understand and appreciate that, because I embarrass myself on a regular basis. So that's cool. However, what he wants to do is talk about a kind of beginner's guide to comics and graphic novels, not only in the wider sense of the scale in talking about the actual books, but also about, I wanted to talk about discovering them at conventions. Because at the end of the day, certainly at something like San Diego Comic-Con, it's such a monster and such a massive event. How do you discover books? Is it through going to the artists? Is it through going to publishers and going to the DC stand and the Dark Horse stand and all these separate stands? Or do you actually go to the long box retailers? It's such a massive thing. And how can you discover about new comics and indeed get into comics generally? I think there's a good conversation to be had there. If anything, also because I started thinking about graphic novels when people talk about introducing them and getting into the genre. People always seem to bring up the same ones, which are your Watchmen's, your Dark Knight Returns, your Why the Last Man's, your Sandman's. These are 18, 20-year-old books. There are new books out there, and I think there are books to introduce you to the genre. And I wanted to try and get a couple of representatives from a comic book shop on. That's slightly awkward because at the end of the day, Sunday is their kind of day off, and they want to, you know, relax. But we're trying our best. We're doing what we can to try and get some people on. So I think next week's going to be a good show. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
That's
so
good.
There we go. Right. Yeah. So where can people find you online, Alyssa? I am freezing. Can you tell?
Yeah, I'm actually going to suggest that we also bring on somebody who's well versed in the comics, and maybe we get Chris Chen on.
Yeah, but he's boring.
Well,
and yeah, he's boring, and he smells.
Well, no, he doesn't. I didn't say. But he's very knowledgeable. I'm just talking, you know, get somebody on that perhaps we can bring somebody on who knows a lot about things and can suggest some good jumping on points to particular so you don't have to particular books, so you don't have to learn the canon from. I mean, how many Why the Last Man books were there?
There was 5 volumes of that. I mean, I think the best example. I mean, the best example I came up with on the way to do the show was if I was going to be recommending a book today, it would be it'd be Vision. Because you can, in fact, come into that book almost sort of like not knowing much about even the Avengers, knowing about anything really. It's just these characters and the way that the central character of the Vision interacts with the rest of them. I can't recommend, say, for example, the Mr. Miracle book. It is the best comic on the shelves right now. It's absolutely stunning, but I can't recommend it as a book if you are just coming into comics, because you have to know Kirby, you have to know New Gods, you have to know Darkseid, you have to know the Big Barda, you have to know the Mr. Miracle relationship, you have to know all of this stuff going in, otherwise you're lost. It's like someone was turning around saying, what comics would you recommend that's out on the shelves right now? What's this the Batman Dark Metal series? You can't even read that. It's so goddamn dense. It's hard work, man. If you came into that cold, you'd be screwed. So it's stuff like that I want to kind of talk about.
So perhaps somebody who is very knowledgeable to talk with you about it would be useful to have on this particular show.
Yeah, that's why we're gonna get Matt Dunford on.
Yeah, okay. But he's also going to be talking about Comic Fest, which I'm really looking forward to, because I'm real interested in what they're doing. Speaking of Comic Fest, they are looking for, if anybody knows of a cosplayer, they are looking for somebody to play Melly, to cosplay as Mary Shelley, the author of Frankenstein. They will provide the costume, but they do need a cosplayer who will actually play her for the festival. And people can find me at, for my Twitter handle is at Friends of CCI, and on my website, friendsofcc.com.
Cool. I'm just looking through all the comments that have come through on the Q&A. Andrew English, Leonard, did you thank Alyssa for holding the fort? Your post on way home. I don't quite get that one. There we go. Yeah, and just Dan Berry is really just putting the screw in about Ant-Man. So fun and games. Yeah, people, thank you very much indeed for watching, and indeed you can follow me on my social medias at Englishman SDCC, and of course keep up to date with what we do on anenglishmaninsandiego.com. If you'd like to support the Hangout and what we do in terms of getting guests on, getting bits and pieces to cover conventions better, so for example, some of the money that has come into the Patreon will be going on a DJI Osmo stabilizing kit, which will allow us to do the reports better. You can please go to patreon.com/EnglishmanSDCC, and yeah, any pennies that you can spare, we'd be most appreciative of. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hey, go Olympics. And enjoy the rest of your weekend, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Next week we will also include a small spoiler-free review of Black Panther as well, because I think myself and Alyssa will have seen it by that point.
Yes.
Do take care, enjoy the rest of your week, and yeah, we'll see you on the next Talkin Comic-Con, a cup of tea with an Englishman in San Diego. Bye everyone. Oh, and thanks to our guests as well. Thank you very much indeed to Keithan. Much appreciated. Okay. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.